You hear me? Oh, no? Is this better? Okay. Welcome everyone. Welcome to the 2023 Humphrey School of Public Affairs State of the School. You made it. I don't know what your commute this morning was like, but mine was pretty horrendous, and so I'm just honestly happy to be here in one piece. So, my name is Nathan Jaidi Detweiler, and I am the president of the Public Affairs Student Association. I have gotten to know a number of you, but not all of you, and I'm really happy to be here with you today. Today is a special day for us. It's a day where we hear about how our school and even more broadly our community is doing. And so I'm really excited to share with you some of what we'll learn from the Dean about how we are doing. One thing that I did want to note before I invite her up is that I've really appreciated the leadership and the care and the compassion with which the Dean has approached being at the Humphrey School. And I don't really know what's more astounding to me, the fact that a Georgian moved to Minnesota, or the tenacity with which she has followed through on some of her goals and some of her priorities in a little over a year. So without further ado, I'd love if we could all invite her up and clap her onto the stage. Thank you all.
Thank you, Nathan. I'd like to thank you for your leadership of the Public Affairs Student Association, for your warm welcome. This past December, we had a fantastic celebration thanks to you, Chris Carter, Ruby DeBellis. Ruby, are you in the room, or Chris? And others who led the PASA, I call it the PASA prom. But I know it was the gala or the banquet, the winter banquet. The banquet and the energy we have felt from the students has been nothing less than inspirational and energizing. That energy has propelled our school over the last year, and we continue forward. And so thank you again, Nathan, for your leadership as president of the Public Affairs Student Association, and for all that you do in transitioning that power and that presidency seat to the next person, in uniting the student organizations and supporting the work that they do. And so, dear Humphrey School friends and students, faculty and staff, honorary council members, advisory council members, alumni, partners, and friends, greetings. Thank you for being here today. We have a past dean of the school, Eric Schwartz, who has returned to the school. He's not in the room with us today, but he sends his greetings. He's teaching a class. You know, it's unbelievable he didn't cancel the class to come to the state of the school, but we welcome Eric back. We also have online Laura Bloomberg, the most previous dean of the Humphrey School. And so Laura, thanks for joining online. She took on the mantle when she left the Humphrey School to be provost of Cleveland State University, and she is now president of Cleveland State University. And so we celebrate Laura and her continued leadership. As most of you know, she and Eric have been very generous with their time, not just here in the Humphrey School, in their past leadership, but in continuing to be a dear friend of the school in their leadership and support of me as your dean. And so thank you. And welcome to our annual State of the School address. This address is a report required by our school's constitution. I could not be more excited to come back to this podium and say, the state of the school is strong. Yes. We are ready to take on so many of the pressing challenges present right here in the Twin Cities, throughout the state of Minnesota, the nation, and around the world. In my first year as your dean, we have worked together to showcase our value as a premier public affairs and public policy institution through research, outreach, education, and conversation. So today I'll provide a broad overview of those key 2022 accomplishments, provide some highlights to how we're doing, and then close with a vision of the year ahead. Then as we have time, I'd like to hear from you. We'll take some questions at the end and any comments that you'd like to share. The press gives me an opportunity to speak to the things we have celebrated in the previous fiscal year, as well as look forward to what's ahead. I was recently a part of a conversation at UC Berkeley at the Goldman School with other public policy school deans to discuss the future of public policy education, and that's obviously something I've thought a lot about. Where we are now, what is our impact, and what does the future hold? One conclusion we reached, which you've heard me talk about often, is that our society faces some wicked problems that cross silos, cross disciplines, that require more than one discipline to solve, such as economic and racial inequities, economic disruptions caused by climate change, global tensions, and more. We also concluded that solving those problems will not be easy, and that we have to have difficult conversations that can lead to policy and practice to make progress and to advance the common good. I'm concerned that many of us are not comfortable having these difficult conversations. We're not as resilient in the face of challenges to our current thinking, and thus we don't engage in those conversations as readily as we normally would. At the Humphrey School, we must learn and dig into the work to be resilient so we can overcome challenges to democracy, inequities, racism, and so on. We must be brave enough to have these difficult conversations. We must work together to get to the right solution, not the easy solution or the comfortable solution, but the right solution. This question was at the center of our work over the last 6 months to develop our new strategic plan that will guide our school for the next 5 years. It's a bold path with extensive input from our communities. Many of you were likely a part of the steering committee and engaged in the various focus groups and other interactive parts of the project. We've created a plan that models our commitment to valuing diversity and inclusion of thought, experience, and identity. It leverages the University of Minnesota's Impact 2025 strategic plan and brings together a range of viewpoints to a united focus on the common good for all, locally, nationally, and globally. And so I'm going to ask you to read this with me. Our new mission statement is the Humphrey School of Public Affairs. All right, we're going to start again. Act like you're in church, all right? So we're going to start at the top. The Humphrey School of Public Affairs educates, engages, and equips leaders and communities to discover solutions that advance the common good in our diverse world. This is what we do. This is our mission. It is not far from our previous mission. It highlights educating, engaging, and equipping leaders who come to us to discover these solutions through research and other means to advance the common good in our diverse world. This plan envisions the Humphrey School as a catalyst and significant contributor to those solutions through our roles in teaching, research, and service. This plan underscores the value of education and its place within a living and thriving democracy. What we heard over and over was the idea that the erosion of democratic values and principles is a real threat to our democracy. And schools of public policy have a challenge and opportunity to play a big role in educating and supporting our new leaders and continued practitioners and leaders who are in the field. Our students' success was a top guiding principle along the way. Who are those who study public policy, public affairs, urban and regional planning, science, technology, and environmental policy, development practice, and human rights, and how do they best support their endeavors? How do they want to advance the common good? Let's listen to a few who shared their goals with us.
In research that investigates race, urban nature, and housing, and how those intersections impact inequities in our communities today.
I'm currently a Master's of Human Rights student, and in my previous work, I have worked to raise and uplift the voices of the underrepresented and marginalized groups, including asylum seekers, refugees, survivors of violence and torture, and children affected by armed conflict.
My research with the Human Rights Program focuses on how authoritarian regimes around the world are targeting their students and academic and Western universities through different tools of
I've been working on ensuring that the Humphrey School is accessible for all students with disabilities and working.
Our students come to the Humphrey School to have impact, to have hands-on experience advancing policy, leading and engaging with communities, stakeholders, and decision makers. Here's more of what our students are doing. Joy Musimi, I don't see Joy with us. Joy is here. Welcome, Joy. Joy is a second-year Master of Human Rights student whose 2 internships this summer gave her valuable field experience that complemented her academic work. One of her internships was with the ACLU of Minnesota as a communications intern, focusing on immigrant rights and reproductive rights. The other was with ALIGHT, formerly the American Refugee Committee, as a protection sector intern, working with displaced people on gender-based violence protection and the protection of unaccompanied minors. She plans to work with refugees and unprotected minors after completing her degree here at the Humphrey School, and there are a number of experts who are able to support her in that career field. Joy has also worked closely with the school stakeholders to pull together our strategic plan, among other projects that she's taken on during her time here. Thank you, Joy. I think Gustav is here as well. Gustav Stewart, where are you, Gustav? Thanks, Gustav. So Gustav wants to help make transportation more sustainable, efficient, and multimodal. It's part of his larger goal of making cities and communities healthier and more equitable. He decided to pursue his Master of Urban and Regional Planning degree here at the Humphrey School because he knows it will give him the skills to tackle these goals. Gustav worked with the Minnesota Department of Natural Resources on bicycle pedestrian trail data to look at patterns and trends on DNR trails. Usage trends can help the DNR decide when to perform maintenance and other work. Thank you, Gustav. Second-year Master of Public Policy student Emma Peterson says she found out she was passionate about policy after first working toward a social work graduate degree. She wants to focus on police misconduct and says the data and analysis skills she gained here will help her examine crime and policing data to uncover patterns that may not be obvious. Here's a quote from Emma that I love. She says, public policy research should be accessible to all people because politics is for the betterment of everyone. This quote from her inspires me because last year I stood right here in front of you and gave the State of the School address, and I highlighted a driving principle and frame of reference from me, Ubuntu. Ubuntu means I am because we are. I advance the common good, we advance the common good for everyone. Dr. Hannah Lichson is joining us online. Thank you, Emma. Dr. Hannah Lichson is joining us online and is a physician at Hennepin Healthcare in Minneapolis, specializing in pediatrics and internal medicine. And she is in the Master of Public Affairs mid-career program. She joined the MPA program because of her leadership role as medical director of the system's downtown clinic. She is increasingly involved in setting policy in local healthcare organizations, and she says that at work, I've become the policy person in the room, and in policy settings, I'm often the doctor in a room. I found myself wanting a deeper and broader knowledge. So her path led her here with her cohort peers as they strengthen their leadership skills that in turn strengthens our community through the MPA program. And so thank you, Hannah. So I have one more, and I'm looking at Ruth because Ruth Usum asked for examples of students and the work students were doing. So here's one more, Ruth. Hortense Manishi. Hortense is a Master of Human Rights student and was recognized last fall with an Exceptional Woman of Peace Award from an international nonprofit, Pathways to Peace. She was honored for her contributions in promoting the women, peace, and security agenda across the world. Hortense has also been appointed to the Association for Public Policy Analysis and Management, APAM, the 2023 Student Activities Committee. The committee plays an important role in student programming at APAM's annual fall research conference and supports other student initiatives. Now, we could only pull a few examples. I ended with Hortense, and let's give Hortense a round of applause. These are just a few examples to showcase how our students are taking their Humphrey School education, applying it to their passions, and having impact in various areas of life. Let's give all of our students, not just these, a round of applause. Now, I've asked our directors of graduate studies to share just one highlight from each of the 6 master's programs we offer, as well as our PhD program. So most of them obviously didn't stay to one item, but we're gonna listen to what they have to share.
It was the year that our development practice students reasserted themselves as global change agents. During capstones, we engaged global partners to evaluate programs at a national and regional scale, looking at transitioning national assets from extractive industries. We also did a project focused on evaluating youth entrepreneurship and this year earned 9 Judd Fellowships to focus on international engagement and learning. This fellowship supported the students to work on supporting social entrepreneurship in Minnesota, Kenya, and Mongolia, exploring carbon footprints of forestry in Guatemala, and looking at microfinance programming in Kenya. Finally, what I'm particularly proud of this year is that 5 MDP students joined the university delegation to the 27th Conference of Parties, or COP27 in Egypt, to engage the global conversation about climate change and solutions. We consider ourselves fortunate in the Master's Development Practice program to have an amazing cohort representing.
Excited to tell you about this year's amazing cohort of MPA students. They range in age from 31 to 66, with an average age of 43. They work in the public, private, and the nonprofit sectors, and a third of them are students of color. These professionals have impressive resumes that include medical doctor, engineer, journalist, nonprofit executive directors, a TV host, researchers, and public servants that are engaged in healthcare, housing, clean energy, education reform, environmental sustainability, and other crucial policy fields. So why are they in this program? Because they want to pursue their passion, learn new skills, and expand their capacity to make a difference in a world that desperately needs their leadership.
Being heard right now at the Washington State Legislature on energy. So it's really a winning combination. We've got really great professional advancement and job placement, while our students are also doing work that's addressed.
Perhaps most proud of how over the past year, we've strengthened our curriculum's engagements with questions of racial justice. Randy Blessett and Dr. Tia Gaynor to our faculty such issues. We also welcomed former Dean Eric Schwartz back to the program, strengthening our focus on immigration and the injustices that surround it. Voting rights through courses on how to secure the integrity of elections administration. We've developed new courses on stratification economics and racial equity assessment. And we've continued to build and strengthen our gender and public policy concentration that treats intersectionality as a foundation for analysis and engagement. There's so much work to be done, but students, faculty, staff, and the MPP program are all
accomplishment in the urban and regional planning program and urban planning programs in North America. Strong signal for the quality of our faculty, our curriculum, and our students. We have producing research faculty in the nation. We have an amazing curriculum, including a new class on race and planning, which is a one-of-a-kind class in terrific students who go on to do amazing things.
Human Rights Program are investigating and documenting law enforcement surveillance of protesters and activists outside of protest settings and the experiences of individuals and families who are seeking justice for law enforcement violence. Through the Networks for Justice Project, we hope to better understand how racism, white supremacy, surveillance, and monitoring conducted by law enforcement and state actors affect families who are seeking justice. Working with local, national, and international partners, we are developing an understanding of the formal and informal networks that exist to protect individuals seeking justice. This research will contribute to the international dialogue on networks and tactics used by impacted individuals to obtain justice, illustrating where and how the international community and domestic civil society can work together to advance the search for justice. Through this project, MHR students have been able to engage with community partners, learn research and advocacy skills that will improve their future job prospects, and network with human rights professionals here in the Twin Cities and internationally.
I can't think of just one accomplishment, so I'm going to list three. First of all, our students are competitive for highly prestigious research. Yang and Rebecca Walker hold the doctoral dissertation. Also won this award. And the job market is just getting started. Go on the job market with a great set of research and teaching accomplishments. Welcomed Sylvie, Olivia, Mauricio, and Ethan. Our program is competitive and we're able to bring in.
What a great team. So I think they took a note from me that they shared a lot, and I have a lot more to share. Thank you to our directors of graduate studies and coordinators for their work in shaping each program we offer here at the Humphrey School. Now I want to celebrate the work of our renowned faculty, whose scholarship and dedication to the education and advocacy of our mission elevates our school here and around the world. Locally, our faculty members are often asked to give expert testimony and research before our own state government to inform and consult on policy. And here are just a few examples of what we've done in the last year. Associate Dean Ryan Allen provided expertise about a bill just passed by the legislature to allow undocumented immigrants to apply for driver's licenses. His research into the subject shows that about 2/3 of undocumented immigrants who work are driving to their jobs even without licenses. This change in the law will increase public safety on our roads and allow those individuals to freely drive to work and school. Assistant Professor Audrey Dorelian continues her research into the spread of COVID-19 virus in Minnesota in collaboration with the Minnesota Department of Health. And just last month, Professor Yingling Fan testified before the Minnesota Senate Transportation Committee regarding the state's transition to clean transportation. She told lawmakers that simply replacing oil-fueled cars to electric vehicles is not enough to sufficiently reduce greenhouse gas emissions. The legislature also needs to invest heavily in walking, biking, and transit to reduce auto dependence for all, especially marginalized communities. This is a cornerstone element of our school's impact on legislation that gives our students an example of what public policy expertise can contribute, and is a reminder to state leaders that they can and should rely on the research and outreach from the Humphrey School of Public Affairs. In the previous fiscal year, 65% of our faculty provided expert analysis to local and national news media on a wide range of topics. Looking across the offerings of our school, our faculty are taking part in discovering evidence-based solutions to the world's most pressing and challenging problems and issues. Our faculty published 48 research articles, books, and other powerful products, some of which I'll highlight here. First with Angie. Where's Angie? Hey, Angie. Angie Fertig says, structural racism is everywhere. She is on a University of Minnesota research team examining how structural racism and discrimination affect people's health throughout their lives. Angie says that the findings from this study will add to our understanding of the relationship between structural racism and various health disparities at all stages of life. Policymakers, healthcare providers, and communities can then use that information to develop appropriate remedies that will lead to better and more equitable health outcomes. Thank you, Angie. Diana Quintero is a visiting human rights engaged scholar and recently published a paper entitled Transformative and Emancipatory Function of Comprehensive Reparations with one of the top 5 law journals in Latin America. Where are you, Deanna? Hey, Deanna. The paper addresses the right to reparations for victims of human rights violations, in this case, indigenous communities displaced by armed conflict in Colombia. A new study by the Center on Women, Gender, and Public Policy, led by Professor Christina Ewig, finds that low-wage healthcare workers are leaving the profession at higher rates than before the pandemic. Higher rates than before the pandemic, resulting in labor shortages and heavy workloads that are affecting the quality of care. There's a map for that. Professor Yingling Fan has developed an innovative transportation happiness map that captures the positive emotions tied to biking, reliable public transportation, safe and scenic paths, and avoiding traffic behind the wheel. Her research is at the center of a new short film, Community Power Minnesota, Transportation and Happiness, produced by the nonprofit Redford Center. Associate Professor Bonnie Keeler led an international team of researchers to develop the guidebook for the Engaged University, a comprehensive roadmap for higher education institutions to expand and promote action-oriented research and practices that respond to society's needs. And we are applying that guidebook right here at the Humphrey School. The guidance provided is helping us through the leadership of Associate Dean Asojo to understand our faculty's activities in the areas of research, teaching, and service. Associate Professor Gabe Chan and students from one of his classes spent a week last May touring several rural electric co-ops throughout the state, many of which are transitioning to wind power and other renewable energy. Professor Chan is paying attention to the ways that electric co-ops are adopting clean energy technologies. I also want to recognize a milestone anniversary for one of our most well-respected leadership development programs, the Policy Fellows Program, run by the Center for the Study of Politics and Governance. They celebrated their 30th anniversary in June. The program brings together emerging leaders from throughout Minnesota for 9 months of training, research, and networking. It is a shining example of the school's efforts to engage our communities to seek solutions to public challenges. And we're just getting started. Several of our faculty members joined prestigious committees and won awards, and though I can't name them all here today, I'd like to highlight a few. And I encourage you to applaud these folks, so you're allowed to clap if you'd like. In recognition for his significant contributions in the field of public policy analysis, Professor Samuel Myers Jr. received the inaugural Policy Field Distinguished Contribution Award from the Association of Public Policy Analysis and Management at its annual conference in November. Sam Myers. And he was also named to the inaugural class of the Distinguished Fellows at the Samuel Du Bois Cook Center on Social Equity at Duke University. Professor Raghi Assad. Raghi's always here. Is Raghi here today? Hey, Raghi. Raghi has been named to a National Academies of Sciences, Engineering, and Medicine Committee on Women's Empowerment, Population Dynamics, and Socioeconomic Development. The committee will review and assess the impact of women's empowerment and associated population dynamics on global social and economic development. Congrats, Raghi. Where's Bonnie? Bonnie Keeler. Bonnie here? Well, Bonnie's here in spirit, or she's online. And so Associate Professor Bonnie Keeler was named to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency's Board of Scientific Counselors. Board members serve as trusted advisors on issues of concern related to the EPA research priorities or policies. Carrie Olberger. Carrie Olberger, an assistant professor in the leadership and management area, has been awarded a McKnight Land Grant Professorship for the next 2 years. This is a big deal. The goal of the McKnight program is to support and advance the careers of the university's most exceptional junior faculty members. Her research focuses on improving the effectiveness of nonprofit and non-governmental organizations in reaching their goals. and Professor Larry Jacobs. Larry was inducted into the American Academy of Arts and Sciences last fall. He was elected in 2020, but the induction ceremony was postponed until last year due to the pandemic. I think you'll agree with me that this induction is well worth it. This is a fantastic honor for Larry and an honor that he brings to the Humphrey School. Congratulations, Larry. And let's give all of our faculty a round of applause. In the last year, our school hosted more than 65 in-person and virtual events, embracing the foundation of our school's history by our namesake Vice President Hubert Humphrey. He wanted a living memorial, one that would not only prepare future leaders, but also one that would be a forum for active debate on the policy issues of the day, and an academy that would produce the best research and nonpartisan advocacy based on that research. Last spring, we were called on by the Walter Mondale family to support a memorial service for Mr. Mondale on campus. Vice President Mondale, as many of you know, passed away in April of 2021, and due to COVID, his family delayed his service until just last year. He was a lifelong friend of Hubert Humphrey and a dedicated member of our school's politics and governance curriculum and outreach. Professor Larry Jacobs and many members of our staff brought to campus hundreds of Mr. Mondale's friends and family members to remember him and to honor his legacy. President Joe Biden attended the memorial service that took place at Northrop and was broadcast around the world. Incidentally, Mr. Mondale was vice president to Jimmy Carter, whom we are remembering for his life's work of advancing the common good. Last fall, Marshall Johnson, Chief Conservation Officer for Audubon, spoke on campus as part of the Humphrey School's Advancing Climate Solutions Now policy series. He spoke about how helping birds survive will help address the climate crisis. Creator of the 1619 Project, prominent journalist and Pulitzer Prize winner Nicole Hannah-Jones delivered a difficult lesson about racism in America to a near capacity crowd at our distinguished Carlson lecture, sponsored by the Humphrey School, Carlson, and the Carlson Family Foundation. We were reminded that we all have to be prepared to have difficult conversations and make visible our country's full history in order to ensure progress. These are just a few of our events that we hosted throughout the year, with many more book talks, career conversations, global policy, gender equity, and political discussions that also took place. In our updated strategic plan, we heard from our stakeholders that at the Humphrey School, these types of gatherings and our people are who they look to for discussions that may not be easy, that may question our strongly held beliefs, as well as forge new partnerships. This is how we are moving forward. Understanding and centering the changing world and understanding the topics our students want and need to study. Now, I'd like to turn to the numbers of the school. Our annual Humphrey Counts gives a high-level snapshot of how the school is doing. Hopefully you were able to pick up a copy outside on your way in, and if not, please grab one on your way out and check out our facts and figures on our website. We remain a premier public policy and public affairs school. U.S. News and World Report ranked our nonprofit management area as number 7 in the nation. Social policy is ranked 13th, urban policy is 15th. Overall, we rank in the top 5% of public policy schools in the nation. Each of our rankings are points of pride and opportunities for continued growth. I'd like to highlight our fiscal year 2022 budget of $24.8 million. This remains down from previous years as we continue to rebound from the pandemic impacts. like many other organizations, as well as navigating the reduced support that the broader university receives from the state. You can see our total endowment is $104.5 million, which has remained steady. Our enrollment numbers are up slightly, with 383 enrolled master's students, but this number is a bit stagnant from where we'd like to be. Thanks to the support of our Career and Student Success Office, Jen Geyer-Wood. Hi, Jen. And yes, thank you, Jen. We are initiating a plan to reach out to recent students who began their master's journey here at the Humphrey School, but for one reason or another have not completed their degrees. We are also working to continually broaden our outreach efforts to undergraduate and graduate students whose graduate schools whose students align with our mission and the programs available here at the Humphrey School. 45% of our master's students receive financial assistance, and we have provided about $2.2 million in scholarship support for our students alone this year. We have 28 students moving through the PhD program and 61 students working through certificates. And we are proud to serve the 41 countries represented by our student body. We continue to strive toward matriculating a class that is reflective of the communities we serve, here and around our campus, our state, our nation, and our world. We hosted 22 rising undergraduate seniors for the Junior Summer Institute last summer, which was back in person for the first time since the pandemic, and we're planning to welcome another cohort this summer. We had 34 policy fellows, 12 international fellows and scholars, and 18 Roy Wilkins fellows. It's a lot. We have a total of 40 faculty members, with 27 of those being tenured or tenure track, and 13 are non-tenured graduate faculty. This summer and fall, expect to see many more faculty members joining us in the areas of global policy, urban and regional planning, and leadership and management. Mary Curtin, where's Mary? Hey, Mary in the middle. Our esteemed diplomat in residence will be retiring this year after 10 years of sharing her expertise with many Humphrey students and those of us who have been fortunate enough to work with her. Mary came to the Humphrey School after a distinguished 25-year career as a Foreign Service officer, which included postings at the US Mission to the European Union in Brussels, as political counselor in Warsaw, Poland, and at missions in Tunisia, Mali, and Chile, as well as in Washington, DC. In addition to her teaching, each year Mary organizes a 2-day workshop on international crisis negotiations presented by the US Army War College, which has become a very popular event with our students. I see a lot of heads nodding. Thank you, Mary, for your service to the Humphrey School. Evan Gertis, who always has a guitar behind him, our Master of Public Affairs Director, is also stepping into retirement after 11 years at the Humphrey School. Before joining the school, Kevin served for 33 years with the Minnesota National Guard in a variety of leadership positions, including commander at the company, battalion, and brigade levels. When he left the military, he was the Deputy Commanding General of the 34th Red Bull Infantry Division. What a career. It's an honor to have had Kevin here to share his leadership insights with our students and our school. Kevin. We also bid farewell to Jay Kordowski. Jay retired at the end of the year last year after 18 years teaching in the leadership and management area. Drawing on his expertise, his extensive background in private sector and state and local government, Jay taught public nonprofit finance, organizational development, and leadership, and he led our Senior Leadership Institute program for state employees. He also has served on my advisory council for many years. Thank you, Jay. And at the end of June, Janet Walsh will transition out of the Humphrey School after 4 years as Senior Fellow in the Human Rights Program and Director of the Humphrey Fellows Program for the last 2 years. Professor Raghi Assad will succeed her in this role, having served as Director of the program some 20 years ago. And he takes on this role just as we received word that we've been renewed for an additional 5 years as host for the Humphrey Fellows Program by the Institute of International Education, thanks to the hard work of Janet, Emily, Renee, and the broader team. And just as a bit of background before you give them a bit of applause, I just want to note that the Fellows Program started in 1978 after the death of Hubert Humphrey as a living legacy to Humphrey's commitment to global understanding. And the Humphrey School is one of 13 colleges and universities that host Humphrey Fellows. Thank you, Janet and Raghi. Last year, we announced that instead of having one associate dean for faculty and research, we would separate those roles to elevate the importance of each. We welcomed Professor Abby Asojo from the College of Design last August to guide our faculty. And then we also welcomed Professor Ryan Allen as the Associate Dean for Research. Diana Beck also became the permanent Assistant Dean for Graduate Education at that time. Given those new roles and the highlight of scholarship that you'll find in our updated strategic plan, we are excited about the road ahead for research at our school. We support 112 externally funded contracts and grants that support faculty research, and we expect that number to rise. We've just seen much of the outstanding research happening here. So we are optimistic that with the combination of having a dedicated associate dean for research and with many new faculty members, our research funding will increase to support the school's focus and impacts that go beyond our walls. One of the key goals within our strategic plan is to expand our reach, and we do that by ensuring each of our networks remain strong. One area that we are most proud of in this endeavor is through our alumni community members found across the globe. And I'll just take a moment to recognize Brian Bradford, who's our Director of Alumni Relations, and all of the great work he does in maintaining these relationships. We proudly have 6,126 alumni working in government and private sector, nonprofits, and in the academy. The work of our alumni gives us a look into how the world is changed because of the Humphrey School graduate, how the world has changed because of the Humphrey School graduate. Rashad Williams completed his PhD last year and is now an assistant professor of race and social justice in public policy at the University of Pittsburgh's Graduate School of Public and International Affairs. His research focuses on Black political thought and urban planning. Master of Public Affairs alumna Comfort Dondo was awarded a prestigious Bush Fellowship to support her work providing culturally specific resources to domestic abuse survivors, particularly immigrants in the Twin Cities area. Alumna Akua Ellis has begun a new position as Executive Director of the Partnership for Equitable and Resilient Communities, PERC. PERC's mission is to promote racial equality through community investment. Most recently, Ellis served as the Senior Vice President of Community Impact for Greater Twin Cities United Way and she was recognized with a Hubert H. Humphrey Public Leadership Award in May of 2022. MPP alum Lauren DeZong Schulman has taken a new position with the federal government. She's the Associate Director for Performance and Personnel Management in the U.S. Office of Management and Budget. Previously, she worked at the Partnership for Public Service, where she was Vice President of Research, Evaluation, and Modernizing Government. Adriana Goodwin and Anne Garagiola, both MPP graduates last year, are research assistants with the Truth Project, which stands for Towards Recognition and University Tribal Healing. This is part of a Minnesota, Twin Cities, and University of Minnesota justice-oriented project. At the heart of this Truth Project, or Truth-Telling Project, is community-led participatory research designed to give tribes the opportunity to tell in their words the history of relations between their tribal nations and the University of Minnesota. Our alumni put policy into practice, and our cities and states and world are better for it. I want to take just a moment to mention one of our favorite people. One of our favorite people, Josie Robinson Johnson. She is being honored next month with one of the university's highest awards and honors, the university's Regents Award for her exceptional service to the university. At that time, we will also formally dedicate our Josie Johnson Community Room for Social Justice, an inspiring gathering space with a display of Josie's lifelong commitment to civil rights. Today, we are looking forward to commencement as we add more graduates to our alumni community. It was absolutely thrilling to be back in person for commencement last year and know that we are excited to celebrate those master's and PhD students who are completing their degrees again this year. Our school will be together at Ted Mann Concert Hall on May 13th, so look out for more information about that. And it's my pleasure to announce the commencement speaker for this year is Shonda Smith Baker. Yay, Shonda. Shonda is the Chief Impact Officer and Senior Vice President at the Minneapolis Foundation. She has more than 20 years of experience working in, for, and with underestimated communities. Shonda spent 17 years at Pillsbury United Communities, a complex community-based nonprofit where she served in a variety of leadership roles before assuming the role of President and CEO in 2011. In addition to leading Pillsbury and pursuing bold strategies to address systemic inequities, Shonda has served on numerous nonprofit and philanthropic boards throughout her career, and her civic leadership has been recognized with several awards and commendations. After many of my walk and talks over the last year with students, I knew Shonda would be the perfect choice with her localized advocacy and leadership. Shonda's commitment to addressing systemic barriers, equal rights, and gender and racial disparities align so well with our mission, and I know her message will inspire us all. In the months and years ahead, well, that picture was in there. We will be doing the work of implementing the strategic plan. Our goals promote student success. We want our workforce to thrive and feel supported. Research is and will continue to be woven throughout our curriculum, equipping students with the cutting-edge practices and tools to be successful in their chosen fields. We will grow our learning communities by establishing new programs and being a catalyst for innovative solutions that benefit the common good. Through this work, We will strengthen partnerships at the local, national, and global levels that celebrate a rich variety of experiences. And we will champion and model a community where diversity, equity, inclusion, social justice, and accessibility are all consistently being practiced. We have bold initiatives to work toward. Do we have the energy and audacity to confront them? Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'd like to thank our dedicated and talented staff members who, without our faculty and students, would not have the support needed to accomplish the mission of our school. Could I ask our staff members just to raise your hand, wave? Let's see where you are. Thank you. Thank you. They are the foundation of the work that we are able to do here at the Humphrey School, providing such great support to our faculty and students. Thank you again. I also want to thank each of you, each and every one of you, friends and faculty, staff, advisory council members, honorary council members, neighbors. Did I say friends already? Thank you all for coming. We hope to bring you many more opportunities to gather in person or virtually in the coming months. Now, I think I'm out of time, so I'm supposed to say, I'd like us to gather in the hall in the back and to go to lunch, and I will take your questions there. Thank you again so much for coming to our State of the School. The State of the School is strong, and I look forward to celebrating with you following our program.